South Carolina. Shout out to South Carolina, man. There's a spot in Myrtle Beach that my wife and I love. Years ago, we went on a road trip to Florida. And along the way, I think I'm pretty sure I spoke about it on the podcast, but along the way, we stopped in Savannah, Georgia. Wanted to go to this great soul food spot that was like famous and always has like lines around the block called the Wilkes House, which is amazing. And I just found out, by the way, I was like walking around, and there's actually photos of this on my website, spuntoday.com/photography, my little photography section. And it was such like a beautiful, like scenic town in Savannah with like a bunch of like weeping willows. I think that's what they're called. Like the trees that look like weeping willows, I guess. I don't know how to explain them, but, and there was like a park nearby, and I was just like, we were, waiting online for a while. And I took my camera and I was just like walking around a few blocks and just like taking pictures. Well, my wife and sister-in-law and brother-in-law stayed online because whatever, I like taking pictures of like landscape, scenery, like stuff like that. And I later found out that the bench that Forrest Gump is on when he's like telling his story to the folks waiting for the bus of, the entire movie of Forrest Gump was a few blocks away from the Wilkes House where we were. And I was in this little park, like taking pictures, and I'm not sure. And there's like a couple parks around there. So I either took pictures of that same exact park, or it was like an adjacent park, like a block away. But it was so cool that that's what it was. And it looked familiar from the movie, and I didn't recognize it then, but I saw like how this got made for Forrest Gump, and they mentioned how they shot a lot of it in Savannah, Georgia, especially that scene, etc. Then I looked it up, and I looked up the address to the Wilkes House and the address to the park where it was shot, and it was like literally 3 or 4 blocks away. And that's what I walked when I was like walking around, just like taking pictures of stuff. So I thought that was a pretty cool takeaway. But anyway, in the initial road trip years ago, we planned it out. We stopped in Savannah, Georgia. We stopped in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We saw the Rocky Steps and statue and the Liberty Bell. And we went to Florida. We went to Disney. On the way back, stopped in Virginia. But one of our stops was South Carolina, and it was just like a 2-day stay in Myrtle Beach. And we happened to pick this location and just fell in love with it then. And like we vowed to like go back every year. And my wife and I have been, with the exception of like the pandemic times. And this was our, I thought 5th, but I think 4th time back. And we just love it there. Shout out to North Beach Plantation if anybody's interested. It's a dope spot. It's like an enclosed resort where you can either stay in the hotel or rent a villa, which is essentially just a house like on the resort property. And there's like 5 or 6 different pools throughout the resort. There's even houses like if you have like a big, you can rent houses that's anything from like, or the villas that's anything from like a 1-bedroom to like a 5-bedroom with its own private pool and elevator and like wild shit and everything in between. And the property's like right there on the beach, and everything is nearby. There's places to eat nearby. There's a ice cream shop across the street. There's a Walmart. There's an outlet. It's just a dope getaway, dope little vacation that we like to do. And it was our first time going back. We went once when my oldest son was 1, which wasn't too bad. It was both of us and him. And this time was the first time that we're going with 2 kids, and it was my youngest first time on a plane, my oldest Aiden's first time, not it was second time on a plane, but first time knowing that he's on a plane, because before he was 1, you didn't know what the hell was going on, which is the situation Grayson was in this time. But they're both troopers. Made it there, and Aiden started getting a bit of a fever after we got there. We did the Tylenol, and his nose was running and stuff like that. Grayson was fine, but it just like wouldn't go away. We wound up the next day, I think the second day that we were there, I wound up finding an urgent care, taking Aiden, and he wound up having a sinus infection, possible ear infection, and they had to give him antibiotics. Then the next day, Grayson started showing symptoms, and we had to take him. So we spent during our week-long trip there 2 days in the urgent care with the kids, and then staying home, which was fine because we were at a dope like little villa, and the kids had fun just like playing and running around the house and stuff like that. But then after that scare with them, because like especially with Grayson, his fever Like they almost sent us to the ER because they thought it was like 105. It came up in one of the readings, and then it went down to 102, and it was just like touch and go with him. Both of them had pink eye as well. It was just a lot to deal with them sick and being on vacation and stuff like that. But we made the most of it. We were able to go to the beach a couple times, to the pool a couple times, and just like out with them and trying to relax and stuff. Unplug from the normal rat race. Then we get to, we're finally heading home, and we get to the airport. We check in. We go to the gate. And we are approaching the gate, I stop at one of those little kiosks to buy some water and stuff. The girl is checking us out. She's like, "Oh, where are you guys from?" We're like, "Oh, New York." And she's like, "Wait, are you guys on the flight? I think that flight got canceled to New York." And I was like, I'm listening to her. I'm like, "We just checked in literally like a couple minutes ago." I'm just like, she's like a teenage girl working at the kiosk. I was kind of like, "Yeah, okay, all right, yeah, sure. I'll check it out. I'll ask somebody or whatever." I'm like, there's no way, right? Like, we literally just checked in. They would have told us at the fucking check-in or called us or something, Like, I never had a flight canceled before. So I wasn't sure exactly how that worked. But I kind of like blew her off. But I was like, hopefully she's wrong. Or maybe it was another flight to somewhere else in New York. And then we go to the gate. I look at the display. It does show canceled. We go to the information desk. She explains to us what to do. We just basically, go downstairs and ask them at the counter what's going on. And long story short, our fucking flight got canceled after we were at the gate. And, we're checked out of our hotel, obviously. Gave back the rental car that we had. And so we're stranded in South Carolina, nowhere to stay, at the airport. Have to get our bags back, which had already, again, been checked in. Then go to the car rental place, and unless you had an existing reservation already, all the cars were taken, all the cars are booked. So I'm calling nearby hotels so we can Uber it. I called our, where we were staying before, but there was a minimum of like a 2-night stay. It was super expensive. You couldn't just do like a one-nighter. And I found a hotel nearby that we were able to do a one-nighter, wound up booking it and Ubering it there. Because the next flight that they could get us out was either at midnight to Tennessee. No, actually, it was like a couple hours later, like three hours later or something like that, to 3 or 4 hours later to Tennessee, and then a connecting flight to LaGuardia. And that would get us to New York like at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. Or just wait for the next day and take a flight directly to LaGuardia. So we decided to do that, which sucked again, especially with the kids sick and on antibiotics and stuff like that, and having to scramble last minute. But I guess it's a part of the charm of the story now, right? Of the memory of going to South Carolina for the first time with the kids. And shout out also to Care Now, the urgent care there in Myrtle Beach around where we were staying, and Dr. Saunders and his staff, which were absolutely amazing. Big shout out to them. And definitely check out North Beach Plantation if you guys ever go to the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area. I highly recommend it.